Welcome to Business Success Tips, where you learn to make more money in less time and have a lot more fun. I'm your host, Paul Sanneman. I'm founder of Contractor Staffing Source, where we help contractors build great teams. Steven Kohnke from Denver Business Coach is here today. So, Steven, what's your backstory? How did you get into coaching?
Sure, yeah. So entrepreneurship, long kind of story of entrepreneurship. I won't go all the way back to, the grass cutting days of your
Right,
neighbor's house, but
right.
in through college, I ran a house painting company for seasonal. Just did it during the summer times in between semesters and all that, and it's what put me through college. Came out of it without any student debt. I also had mobile bartending company. Had a moving company for one season. Didn't like that one very much, but the painting company was the good one that actually had some payoff there. So always loved it. Always loved entrepreneurship. Always loved working for myself. Never had a real salaried job, but I did work for a company that focused on change management in corporate. So I worked for Fortune 500 companies through this company on how to do change well. So
Mhm.
how do individuals actually go through the process of change? So going from your where you are today to where you want to be and figuring out how to get that. So um, did that for a few years and then came back and a big aspect of change is coaching and being able to help people through those ups and downs of change and growth and all that. So wanted to take all that back into small business and help owners create a business that can actually work for them. And that's what we do now with Denver Business Coach.
So, one of the biggest issues I had as a coach was helping the people make the transition between craftsman and entrepreneur.
Mhm.
And it's a different mindset. So, I mean, I'm sure you deal with this all the time. The guy's, he owns a job, not a business. He's out there as a project manager, whatever. And you've got to convince him to work on the business, not in the business. How do you
Yeah.
do that?
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's what most business owners get into it for, right? They love doing what they're doing and they're working for someone else and said, "Hey, I can do it better." And they're really good at what they can do. Like you mentioned, the craftsman and turning them into a business owner. It's a whole different ball game, right? You got to learn
Mhm.
how to read P&Ls. You got to learn how to read people. You got to learn how to lead people, do all the operational components. And so there's a lot more that goes into it that many owners don't know. And what ends up happening is they get trapped in their business, right? Um,
Right.
but to keep them focused on building a business that can work for them, a part of our process, the S3P framework, is strategy, people, process, and performance. The strategy side is we're roping in the personal side, the business side, and the financial side into the strategy and really helping them understand what does success look like further out. We don't go much further than 5 years, just because so many things can change. But what does the business need to look like? And we always do backwards math and work backwards from that. So we help them understand what the vision actually is. And I'm sure most business owners, and I haven't found one that says, "Oh, I want to continue to work 80 hours a week and for the next 30,
Right.
40 years, and then, die as a business owner, right?
Right.
Die
Right.
working in the business." So, we're focused on building the value of a business, and that is an owner independent company. And once we can really help them focus in on, what that means to them and their family, usually we get a lot more buy-in on saying, okay, this type of work makes sense. So, training them, helping them understand what that future state looks like, and getting them excited about it. That's the other side. Is like you can write whatever you want down on a piece of paper, but actually staying focused about it, staying excited about it, that's the other part of it too. So
Well,
usually that helps them move out.
you mentioned buy-in, which is an interesting. I mean, you can write the business plan. I heck, ChatGPT can write your business plan, right? It's like not hard to do anymore. But how do you get them to actually change their behavior where right
Mhm.
now they consider work as going out and doing something, whether it's, building a foundation, or to actually physically doing something, to where work is studying a strategic plan. That to me is a huge transition because their whole life, their self-worth has been based on making something like there's a house or something. So my self-worth is based on, look at this cool house I did, right? Versus their self-worth is like, look at this piece of paper, P&L, I netted 23%. How do you get them to make that change?
It's the same thing. You're just building a business, right?
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, they need to understand what's in it for them. And that's part of what change is, right? And growth is change is growth. If you're happy staying where you are, there's not a whole lot of motivation you're going to be able to get, but it's the why, figuring out the why, helping them figure out the why now. That's the first step, is awareness into to change, and
Mhm.
actually understanding what the process looks like, and then having the desire to actually do it. So that's the what's in it for me part. So helping them understand what is, the carrot, what's at the end of the rainbow, right? Of being able
Right.
to get them to stay focused on how much time they're actually going to get back by building a business, creating the architecture, the infrastructure of a company that can support themselves and all their employees. And that's pretty rewarding in itself. It's not just focused on the
Right.
short term house, but what's the long term vision and building the actual company. Um, and just helping them understand what that looks like.
I know the why is 90% of it versus the how to. I always say the difference between a motivational question and a training question. I put a gun to your head and you can do it. We have a motivational problem. Put a gun to your head and we can't do it. We have a training problem. It's easy to tell the
Yeah.
difference, right? And most business are motivational problems. I mean, if they had the life dependent on it, they can do it. So maybe give me an example of somebody, I don't give the name specifically, that you walked through this transition, where they were and where they ended up and how you helped them.
Yeah. It's a great point. So one of the things we'll ask our clients is, what role does a business play in their life now versus what role do they want it to play in the future? And we really try to help separate them from the business. And this one client that I work with, foundation repair company, was having trouble, similarly to some of the examples you were saying. It's like, this is what they do. They project manage, they go out and do bids, and they do the sale, and they manage the crews and all that, and helping them just really understand um, what it means to build a team, what that means for
Mhm.
him, and the role that the business plays in his life, right? So we set out to um, actually start building a sales team. Really, is what it came down to be. But also, project managers within that, people who are going out and doing bids. We implemented some technology and some CRMs to help streamline that whole process through the deal. They were tapped out at about 2.5 million, and weren't
Mhm.
able to. He wasn't able to get past that point.
Ran out
Um,
of time.
yeah, exactly. There's not enough time to get past that point when it's just you, right? When you are the one who's trapped in the business. Um, but after kind of building out that infrastructure, finding the right people, which was, I mean, that in itself was a challenge to find the right people. We churned through a handful of bidders and project managers through that process. But once we were able to find that, the business was able to scale. And
Mhm.
we're able to focus on some other things. And we did financial processes and all that, but he's gotten out of the area that really bogged down his day to day, just with some stuff that he hated doing too. And at this point in time, he works in the business when he wants to, not because he has to, and that's really what we're going
Mhm.
for. We've been working together for
Mhm.
about 3 years, and we just continue to build the infrastructure every single year through that process.
Okay. So you inspired him, right, to work on the business, not in it.
It was a
Yeah,
long it was a long process, but yeah.
it's a long process. Um, Maybe you can examine another company that you scaled in the same way, maybe specific examples, like in that case, you built a sales team, right? So how do you help them realize that I have this station all the time, like you're only as good as your team. That's it, right?
Yeah.
And that to put resources into building a team, because as a recruiting company, I mean, very few companies even have a recruiting budget, right? Like, dude, it's the most important part of your company. You even have a recruiting budget. Like, well, I put an ad in Indeed and I hired the first guy and I got some friends and we're all good, right?
Right.
So how do you get them out of that mindset to where building a team, they put resources into actually building a team or resources into marketing, and they're willing to take a little deferred gratification for the bigger picture?
Yeah. That is a hard hurdle to get over, right? We're in annual planning mode right now.
Right.
And annual planning, we're always talking about, all right, so we have these big goals that we want to achieve. We did 4 million in revenue this year. We want to do 7 million next year. It's a pretty big jump.
Mm-hmm.
What do we need to change? What needs to be different? What do we actually need to do? And a lot of times it's going to come back to people, as you're mentioning, because what we do in these
Right.
fields is very heavily dependent on people. So the next question we ask is, all right, so what are we going to do differently to make those changes happen? And along with that is what resources are we going to be able to provide? Because we can't just keep doing what we have been doing at a $4 million
Mhm.
company and expect to hit seven just by adding people.
Right.
What if they turn over? So, what resources are we going to add? Do we need to add a recruiter? Is that going to be beneficial? How many more people do we need to add? What spots in our org chart do we need to fill? What does the actual business need to look like? What does a $7 million company look like? How do we get
Right.
there? So yeah, I mean, we're talking about what are the resources that are actually going to get there. Because I was talking with a landscaping company last week about this, and they had very similar goals. I was kind of just breaking it down. It's like, all right, so you want to grow 50%, and they've been stuck, they've been plateaued at the number that they've been at for the last 3-4 years. And he's like, yeah, we're going to grow 50% next year. I'm like, okay, how are you going to do it? He
Yeah, good
goes,
idea. But I mean, you got to
right.
find customers and people to serve the. I mean, so you need customers and employees to make that happen, right?
Right. He's like, oh, we hired a sales director. I'm like, great. Where's the roles and responsibilities for that? What are they going to be doing? He goes, oh, that's what they're going to figure out for me. I'm like, oh man, like it's so there's a lot of good intention and good ideas, but without a lot of process behind it and being able to say, this is what we're actually going to dedicate as a resource to solving this issue. And we're going to back it with all this different types of support. So, you can't reach these great goals, 50% growth, without really dedicating the time, the resources, the people towards those performance goals.
Right. And so, what did you end up? How is he going to find the clients and the people to get there?
Well, that's what we're going to be working on. I mean, I have a recruiter that helps out in those areas. So if we really do need to find that, I have HR
Mhm.
resources. So I mean, I have a whole team I can bring in to help with this stuff.
Okay.
But I mean, this is a brand new situation, and the conversation I was mentioning, those are our second conversation on it, just kind of
Right.
trying to dig to what's going on. But I mean, it comes down to the marketing aspect of it. How are we attracting people? Where are we going to be? How do we get in front of people at the right times? So I mean, it just kind of turns into one of those equations.
Right. Well, the thing is, I always think it's better to learn from other people's mistakes, right, than your
Yeah.
own. Way
Hmm.
cheaper. And I'm sure as a coach, you've seen people make their share of mistakes, right?
Yeah, I'm doing this for 10 years for sure.
Right. You can say, look at, trust me, this isn't going to work. I don't care if you try whatever this, we've tried it before at companies and it's not going to happen, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Yeah.
how do you actually, do you work with people on a weekly basis? Do you give them processes? Do you work with groups? What's your business model to help get this change happen in construction companies?
Yeah, no, great question. So we work on a similar model of EOS, if you're familiar with
Yeah.
traction, but we've kind of adapted it for ourselves. We're working with clients on either a weekly or every other week basis. We do deep
Mhm.
dive workshops when we're actually building out these plans and helping them execute. We're their partner in the business and the execution.
Mhm.
Where we have access to all the big industry databases. So when we're talking about performance improvement in terms of margins and things like that, we can go benchmark them against what the industry is doing in best in class. Even what are the
Mhm.
top 10%? What's their profit margin doing at your size? And then, what's our gap? And
Right.
then we reverse engineer how to do that. So um, we engage on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. We do quarter reviews every 90 days, and we do annual planning workshops in that. We're available anytime in between meetings at no additional costs. We do monthly fees, so we're your partner in the business. You can access us and talk to us every single day if you really want to. But we do
Mhm.
have a rock in the raging river, like a dedicated meeting every other week where we do deep dive into the plan and do some
Mhm.
execution stuff. So
Like
we're
level 10 type, right?
yeah, yeah, pretty much, and really helping them with the execution of the plan that we've built. And we're building KPI dashboards and tracking all that stuff with them. So it's, we're guaranteeing that the plan is going to move forward that way with that rhythm.
So, Stephen, what's your ideal client? If someone's listening to this podcast, who
Mhm.
would you want to have give you a call?
Sure. The biggest problem we solve is owner dependent companies. Even if you have a team of 5, 6, 7, 10 people, if everything's running through you as the owner, you're trapped in the business, right? And those are the issues that we can come in and really have an impact on pretty quickly. So the ideal client is going to have uh, they're going to feel trapped in their business. They're the ones working 60 plus hours a week, stressed, not able to get ahead and get things going, and might have team or team transition, churn, employee turnover because of it as well, because they can't give the time and attention that everything needs to be deserved. So, we come in there and look at the processes, the systems, the people that are in there, and really help build the infrastructure of a company to take them out of a lot of that day-to-day stuff, so we can focus more on the business components of the company that actually move it forward and give it the ability to scale. So that's probably the most common issue that people come to us with, and that's the most common issue that we can solve pretty quickly. So anyone experiencing those types of challenges within their company, um, we work pretty well with.
So I would say if you're listening to this podcast and you can't take a month off without your business crashing, you're that guy, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we call that the vacation strategy. We'll force you to take some time off, and then when you come back, what's broken becomes our project list, right? And that's what we're going to
Right.
work on. Our goal is to get you to 3 months.
Because that's most people, and I know in construction, they couldn't take a month off without having dire circumstances in their business.
Couldn't take a
And so
week off.
they own a job, they don't own a business, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. We focus on enterprise value, right? And focusing on enterprise value growth is our area where we're really going to improve. What most people talk about as success and growth is like revenue or profit or people or number in your bank account even. Enterprise value encompasses all of that stuff. So that's our one number that we really focus on improving. And when to improve that number, you need to remove the owner out of the company and set those layers, set those leadership teams up, doing the right
Mhm.
things, be efficient. And what that does is gives freedom of time back to the owner, and that's what we really go for.
Okay. So that's, I think most businesses, especially under 5, 10 million,
Yeah.
they
Oh yeah.
can't take time off. They own a job, they don't own a business, and they need to try to make that transition. So if people want to get a hold of you, Stephen, I think choosing a coach is sort of like choosing a wife, I mean, or a
Yeah.
spouse, right? Because
Yeah.
it,
Sure.
it, it's it's a trust, and it's an intimate relationship, and the fact you've got to like trust each other, have faith in each other, and feel like if you don't look forward to going to the meetings, it's the wrong guy, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. So our website is a great spot, denverbusinesscoach.com. I have a team, a big team, and like you said, the pairing of the advisor is so important, and that's mostly my role. So I will talk to any owner that comes in and is curious and want to do it. And my job is to be the matchmaker in that way,
Okay.
to make sure that personalities and challenges are lined up, from the people on my team with the business owner, so that the relationship and the longevity can thrive and the business can
Right.
thrive. So that is a key.
Because I would say most good coaching relationships are fairly long term, right? They're not like 3 months or like a year or 2 years anyway, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're doing big organizational changes, and those can take a while. My longest client's going on 9 years. So
Right. I know when I was a business coach, I had some clients for 20 years. It's like, oh my God, right? So
yeah,
I
yeah,
get it. Great. So, Steve, I appreciate being here. I think that if people either have a coach and aren't happy with it or are looking for a coach, I personally think every business should have a coach. That's my opinion, because
mhm,
it's difficult. It's like name one sports team that doesn't have a coach.
mhm.
You got to have somebody calling the shots, right? It just doesn't
They have
work.
30 coaches. Yeah.
The same thing in business. Cool. Well, Stephen, I really appreciate your time. And I suggest you give Stephen a call if your business isn't where you want it to be and you can't take a month off and you're working harder and making less, right?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Stephen. I appreciate being here.
All right.